You know, last time I did a Halloween video, I actually reviewed one of my favorite movies of all time, directed by my favorite director, Tim Burton. And that is The Nightmare Before Christmas. So you know what? Maybe for this year's Halloween, maybe I'll review another Tim Burton animated movie. Hello my ghoulish paisanos, this is Super RJ here, and I hope you all have a wonderful and safe Halloween of 2020. Today I'm going to review like I said before, I'm going to review another Tim Burton film on this wonderful Halloween, or better yet, a not so good Halloween year. But everybody's still out there trick-or-treating. A few people who go out there going trick-or-treating, keeping Halloween alive, and people are still keeping Halloween alive by staying indoors, being safe and watching some fun Halloween films. So today, I'm going to review this stop-motion animated film that Tim Burton made in the mid-2000s. And that movie is called Corpse Bride. Okay, I think it's enough for this introduction, and I do not want to keep talking into this review with this mask on, so I gotta take it off. Just give me a minute.
Much better. Now, without further ado, let's start this review. So, the movie is about this young man named Vector, where his parents are arranging a wedding to marry with his new fiancée named Victoria, that her family also accepted to marry. However, during the wedding rehearsal, Victor screws things up, and he feels embarrassed by it because he was too nervous about this marriage. So he tries practicing on his own out in the woods until he puts a wedding ring where he thought it was just an old branch, but it turns out to be the finger of a dead bride named Emily, and she takes him into the underworld. And after getting to know about her backstory and noticing the strangeness about being around with other dead people, Victor must find his way to go back to the living world and reunite with Victoria. So, right off the bat, this movie does have a simple story. It's your basic misunderstanding story that our main character tries to understand the meaning of love and all that stuff, yada yada yada. So, for the sake of this review, I'm gonna try my best to discuss all my thoughts and some bit of details for what I see in this movie. I watched this movie 3 times, and for my viewing experience, I thought Corpse Bride is an okay movie. It's a decent movie. It actually does have some things that I generally do like, and to be fair, it doesn't have a lot of things that bother me. But I will say this, I want to get this one main criticism I do have with this film, is that I wish this movie is actually an hour and 18-minute movie, which I don't have a problem with usual stop motion animated films, because it does take a lot of time to make it right. But the other stop motion film Tim Burton actually made was actually The Nightmare Before Christmas. And at least I give that movie credit that Nightmare credit that it has a reason to be an hour 16-minute movie, because it's based on a poem that he made a while back. And it's simple to do that since it's based on a poem. But I kind of wish that this Corpse Bride could expand it a little bit more, showing the life of love. And I see where this movie is going with. And I will say this, I actually do like some of the good some of the sweet moments this movie has. I actually like seeing Victor interacting with Emily, the dead Corpse Bride. And as for the Corpse Bride herself, she is a nice character. You don't see her as a dangerous threat to Victor. She doesn't actually try to force into marrying Victor. She just needed all she needed is just a groom to marry with, after we find out that she was been murdered by a groom, and then she vowed that she wanted to find a perfect man to marry her, so she won't be spending her rest of her afterlife being death. But sadly enough, though, um, Emily is like the only best character that I genuinely like in this movie. The other characters, I will say, they're fine, but I wish they could actually be more interesting, actually be good as Emily. Like, Emily's like the only character in this movie that I think is actually the best one, where you see her character, her struggles, while the rest, they're just basically just their characters. Like, I would. This is why I wish the movie could be a little more long, because because I want to get to know more of the characters. Victor is just your average nervous guy who is sometimes confused and always worried over everything that he sees. And when he meets Emily, you do think that he does wanted to help her out, but most of the time he's just trying to get away from get away from her, which I wish they could have done that a bit more time to have show us the chemistry between Emily and Victor. Like, we could actually have them spend more time together and sharing what they have in common. I mean, I can relate to what Victor is. Sometimes I am a nervous person myself, and sometimes I do hard trying to trying to learn to the new steps in my life. But this movie, on the other hand, doesn't really do that much. And as for his fiancee Victoria, she's just a bland plot device. That's all I have to say about her. She's just a bland love. She's kind of like a plot device, just to make it a ticking timer. Yeah, this movie decided to let her become a ticking clock, because there's this guy who is named Burton. Rick Burton, and what I can describe from this guy, he's basically just Gaston for Beauty and the Beast, but unlike Gaston, who only wants Belle's hands in marriage, she this guy he only wants her just to have her family fortune. And spoiler alert, he's the villain of this movie. Yeah, even when I first saw him when he steps into the wedding rehearsal, and every time he shows up, me and my brother knew he would be the villain when we first watched this movie. And hey, what do you know? I was right. Now, okay. This movie does have some flaws. But are there anything good in this movie? Well, like I said, the story is a bit flawed. Like I said, how this movie is so short. I will give credit. Like I said, I still like where this movie does have a subtle chemistry between Victor and Emily. But Emily. And also, since this is a Tim Burton movie, you know they're going to make the animation look a lot even more impressive than what they did with Nightmare Before Christmas. And I will say this, the animation, it does look brilliant. For what they did to the living world, they did a great job showing the macabre, giving us a macabre style look of it. The way how the characters model do look like they belong in a Tim Burton film with how mysterious and spooky they are. We're giving them big eyes, weird, different shapes and sizes. And like I said, the way how they did the macabre style atmosphere really does work by making it all gloomier. Like, that's how it is with the macabre style life. It makes it more gloomier. But when we get to the underworld, it makes it it becomes really colorful. We're showing that even though living life can be dead, can be very unpleasant, but it can be a little bit fun to see how you can actually get used to it. I hope it would be like something like that, but still, it really does seem a lot more unique, and I do feel like it is kind of like what if happened if we see the other side, see if like imagine the underworld version of this movie be like, what if Halloween we see a new area of Halloween Town. That's what it basically is. Another thing what I like about this movie are the songs. I actually do like the songs in this movie. They're actually decent. And the musical score was conducted by none other than one of Tim Burton's best friends, Danny Elfman. Now, aside from Aside from Tim Burton being my favorite movie director, I love Danny Elfman. He's one of my favorite musician of any movie. He made one of the best musical scores in any movie. Aside from Tim Burton films, I also know him making other music from other films, such as the 2018 Grinch movie and some other films that I remember that he did the music for. And as for the songs themselves, they are decent, but the best song I have to choose is the one song where they explain the backstory of Emily. Feel like it has one of the it's funny, it's really is fun, entertaining from the animation, and it really does. And the songs really does fit in the mood. Each song does fit in the mood whenever the character is feeling or what setting they're in. And now, before I announce the review, I want to talk about the climax, because it is another thing I want to talk about it. And just to warn you, there's going to be some spoilers. So for those who don't want to know about what happens at the end, the third act of the movie, then you should probably leave this video right now, or you should probably skip to the timer that you'll see in the description below. So anyway, here's the climax. So Victor is starting to get along with Emily, but until he finds out by one of the people he knows that actually died, it turns out Victoria's marrying to this Gaston knockoff, and Victor feels sad about it. But then Emily get the word from this old skeleton man, who tells her that her curse is not broken yet because Victor is alive, and the only way to let her be married is to kill off Victor. She doesn't want to do that, but Victor overhears their conversation, and then he decided to give up his life and do want to marry Emily. Now, like I said, I can see where they get going with this by showing the chemistry and the relationship between Emily and Victor, but it does but sometimes the story itself can be confusing with the character's actions and motivation. Like at first, when Victor accidentally puts the ring on Emily's finger, he just wants to get away from her and go back to the real world and be with Emily. But all of a sudden he decided to sacrifice himself just to be to help this girl out, which it doesn't make any sense. Well, sure, he does find out that his fiance he's supposed to marry is going to marry with that Gaston knockoff, but it doesn't really. But the way how he does when he meets the chorus bride doesn't really make him a solid character later on in this movie. So anyway, Victor announced that they're gonna plan this wedding to the living world, and this is where the why I say is the best part. I think is the highlight of the movie that I like. It's where all the dead people reunite to their loved ones who are still living, and I actually like that foreshadowing. Like early on in the movie, Emily gives Victor a wedding gift, which is turned out to be the skeleton of Victor's dog, Scraps. And later on, at the end of the movie, the dead people reunite with their loved ones that are still living. And I have to say that's a nice little moment. I have to say it's like one of the best storytelling moments that Tim Burton has ever done to his films. So, anyway, after the dead people comes out, Gaston knockoff thought that he would still have his Victoria's family fortune, but it turns out her family's not rich, as her parents want her and Victor married together so they could get out of the poor home or something. I don't know. He's ticked off about it and storms off. Then Victoria sees the wedding of Victor and Emily, but after Emily noticed Victoria, she decided to sacrifice her chance of being married and let Victor marry. And tells Victor to confess his love to Victoria. But unfortunately, Gaston knockoff guy comes in and tries to stop everything. And that's another thing why I don't like about this character at all. He already found out that Victoria's family doesn't have all the riches. So what's the point of just still trying to keep having Victoria's hand in marriage? It does not add up. And it turns out that Gaston knockoff guy is actually the murderer of Emily, as Emily started recognizing as he used to be her true love, but he killed her while she was waiting for him. With him again. I was still not surprised because I knew this guy was the villain the whole time. Then it leads to a little bit of a fight scene with Victor and Gaston knockoff until Emily saves Victor's back, and then Gaston knockoff drinks the potion. Drinks the potion that Victor was supposed to drink to let him die. But of course, Gaston knockoff drinks it, and then he's dead. Then all the dead people ready to give him his comeuppance. And after that, Victor and Victoria got married, and Emily has now lifted her spirits, is now finally free with her dreaded curse, and now she can wander free, and now she's ready to live into the heavens. The end. So, yeah, that's the end of the movie. I have to say, the climax of this movie is very meh. Was very meh. I mean, at times it does seem, when it gets to its softer moments, it's good. But when this Gaston knockoff shows up, it just makes everything this climax even more ridiculous than for what it is. So, in conclusion, what's my overall thoughts with? So, in conclusion, Corpse Bride is a decent movie. Like I said, it's a decent movie. There are some good things I like. I can understand why there are a lot of people who really like this movie. To me, as a Tim Burton fan myself, I do enjoy this movie. This movie does has a lot of genuinely good things. I like the Corpse Bride character. I do like the song. I especially do like the animation, and I actually do like the idea where they present it. But unfortunately, though, the story itself is not really told well. I wish could be extra more minutes. I wish they could actually tell this movie a lot more time by giving us more chemistry to Victor, giving us more interest to this character. Like, have him no longer being a nervous guy who tries to make things right. Make him try to stand up to himself or something that pushes him down. Have Victoria be more of an interesting character. And again, actually show us more time seeing Victor and Emily interact with each other. Make them become friends, like have each other help each other's problems. I wish they could do something like that. Now, if I had to give it a rating, I'm going to give Corpse Bride a 7 out of 10. It's a good movie, but as a Tim Burton fan myself, I had to say it's one of his weakest films. Tim Burton, you're a great guy, but in my opinion, I think you should make this movie a little bit more interesting. So, that's all I have to say about Corpse Bride. Thank you guys for watching, and if there's any other movie you guys want me to talk about, then leave it in the comments below. Give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review, and I hope you all had a wonderful Halloween.
I hope you all have a wonderful night. And remember, wash your hands and stay safe.